second.
Okay.
So Carol, then you, and then Chris. And then just as far as the offering, you just go up after the reading that Carol's going to do, and then you'll come back down again. So
Great.
does that work for you?
Yes. So the first time I just wait, tell me again.
Okay.
Is when I just say a brief thing, and then later is when I talk.
Yeah, well, it's just like we're going to introduce Found Access Brigade. Like Danny, I think that's about them, and then today is like, it's going to be gifts. I mean, happy to just this is a lecture for them. And the second part is just me
Good morning. My name is Ryan McBee, and I am a member of the board at the Tennessee Valley Unitarian Universalist Church, and I would like to welcome you on behalf of the board and the program council. You are welcome here, whoever you are, wherever you are from, and wherever you are in your journey. We extend a special welcome to those who are visiting us today. If you are visiting us, you can fill out a visitor information card on the seat back in front of you. Drop that in the collection plate, and someone will be in touch with you after the service. If you'd like to learn more about TVUUC, you can join us for coffee and conversation at the Greg McKenzie Fellowship Hall. I will be standing next to the fireplace and can answer any questions that you might have. If you'd like more information on our youth religious education program, Miriam's available in the lobby to answer any questions that you have. A reminder of COVID protocols. Knox County is currently at a low risk level from the CDC, so there are no COVID restrictions such as masking. And I have a couple of last minute announcements. The TVUUC Reproductive Task Force invites you to attend a discussion following the service today at 12:30. Come and learn more about the task force, as well as ways that individuals in the congregation can be involved in the struggle for reproductive justice. Pizza and refreshments will be provided. And there is a new program that has started, the QUU questions. Questions is a meeting for new visitors who want to learn more about TVUC, Unitarian Universalism, and the path to membership. It's also open to current members who want to deepen their connection with TVUC and Unitarian Universalism. The meetings will be held on the last Sunday of the month. Food and refreshments will be provided. Let us know if you have any dietary restrictions, and we will try to accommodate you. The next meeting will be on January 29th at 12:30, and you can RSVP to Mark Mahundro, and his email address is markmahundro@tvuc.net. And I want to also remind everyone that the Ruth Martin Chili Supper is coming up this Saturday, the January 28th at 5 p.m. And I believe that we had mentioned in the newsletter that it was $13, but we have lowered the price of admission to $5. An apology for any confusion there. For other announcements, please check the back of your order of service. You'll find the announcements for TVUC for activities coming today and this week, and it also has a complete schedule of events. And I think Casey has an announcement.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you. My name is Casey Clark, and I am part of the Let's Connect team and January's Let's Connect month. So I have just a couple of very quick announcements. The first is the program brunch for program leaders that had to be rescheduled has been rescheduled just for the program leaders next Sunday at 10 o'clock in the Lizzie room, and program leaders will get an email invitation. If you can't make it, we'll have a Zoom meeting that Tuesday at 6 p.m., and I'll send out the invite for that as well. And then our volunteer of the month has been chosen, but I'm not going to tell you. Come to the first Sunday lunch in February 5th, and I'll let you know who it was. Thank you.
Now, if you would, please silence your cell phones and other electronic devices as we enter into worship together.
Good morning. The order of service that you have, I've had second thoughts about the opening introit, and I've decided to put it in the offertory. And the offertory, which is called Take a Stand, is what I'm going to sing right now. There's a part for you to sing at the end, so I hope you'll join in. Take a stand for all that you believe in. Take a stand for everyone in need. If our aim is true, we will follow through. Take a stand. Take a stand whenever they reject you. Take a stand together and with pride. When they walk on us, we will make a fuss. Take a stand. We will stand whenever there is silence. We will stand to make our voices heard. We will stand and fight until the day is won. We will take a stand. Let us take a stand. Let us take a stand. Say a prayer for all of our oppressors. Say a prayer whenever you're afraid. When they shoot and sting, we will shout and sing. Take a stand. We will stand against the ones who silence. We will stand forever in their way, making songs to show them that our day will come. We will take a stand. Let us take stand. Take a stand.
Good morning. My name is Maris Porter, and I'm so happy to be offering these welcoming words by the Reverend Dr. Deborah W. Hafner. You are all welcome here. If you're straight, gay, lesbian, bisexual, intersexual, demisexual, pansexual, or asexual, or resist labels completely, you are whole and welcome here. If you're transgender, non-binary, genderqueer, or cisgender, you are whole and welcome here. If you're confused about your sexuality, have questions, struggle in an intimate relationship, or struggle because you aren't in one, you are whole and welcome here. If you'd had an abortion or an unintended pregnancy, given up a child, had a miscarriage, have AIDS or HIV, struggle with infertility or sexual dysfunction, you are whole and welcome here. If you have been the victim of sexual abuse, sexual harassment, or sexual assault, you are whole and welcome here. If you have made sexual decisions or had behaviors that you regret, you are welcome here, and we will help you offer restorative justice and healing. Your sexuality is holy and sacred and an integral part of who you are. You are whole and welcome here. As Unitarian Universalists, we will side with you, love you, and fight for your rights. We seek to create a world where sexuality and sexual diversity is celebrated with holiness and integrity.
Let us join in our chalice lighting hymn. This is our great covenant. Let us join together in our opening hymn in the Teal Hymnal 1015, I Know I Can.
Good morning. It is good to be gathered here together, all the folks who are here with us in this room and those who are watching from elsewhere in the building or at home. Welcome. So I have sort of a story and sort of a conversation to share this morning. So we have a program here in the church called Our Whole Lives, and it's a sexuality education program that we offer at multiple levels, and our 4th through 6th graders are taking that class right now. And in fact, next Sunday is their graduation and their final session. And one of the things they're going to be talking about today is consent. Now, I have a story from an author named Lydia Bowers, and she talks about how there are 5 different elements of teaching children about consent. Let's see if I can rattle them off to you. That's the test this morning. Do I remember them all? I know the first one for sure, because that's what we're going to talk about most today. Number 1 is listening to our body. She talks about how a lot of us don't always listen to what our bodies are telling us, and that's a really important first step. Next is I am in control of my body. Then I ask permission. I check in is number 4, and number 5 is I accept no. And that those are really important elements of helping young people understand what we're talking about when we talk about consent. And so then she shares a story about a kid named Deja. Now, Deja really liked going to school. Does anybody have somewhere you go to during the week? It might be school or work or another community space that you come to that you enjoy going to. Anybody here have somewhere you like to go? But on this particular morning, Deja was feeling really rushed. Has anybody ever run kind of late for somewhere you were trying to go? Yeah? And so Deja was 6 years old, and she was in 1st grade, and when she got to school, she wanted to say goodbye to her mom, and she still was kind of sometimes nervous. That transition was kind of rough, and she wanted a big mom hug, but her mom was in a hurry too. So just kind of like rushed her in and headed off and said goodbye, and she was gone. And Deja started feeling a little shaky. She felt kind of shivery inside, and her eyes felt a little bit wet. Has anybody ever felt kind of shivery inside? How do you think she was feeling? Scared? Maybe scared? Or sad? Yeah. Well, pretty quickly, one of her teachers said, oh, hey, it's a beautiful day, so we're actually going to start out today. We're going to go outside and play on the playground at the very beginning. And so they all went outside. And one of the things Deja loved to do was play tag. Is there anybody here who has enjoyed playing tag before? Yeah. And she and her friend Jack decided to play tag together. Yeah, we've got a Jack. Jackson right here. And so what did she do? What do you think she started doing? She started playing tag. If you're not it and you're playing tag, what are you probably going to do? Run! So she started to run, and her friend Jack started chasing her. And he was so fast, and she was smiling and laughing and having a great time. And as she ran and ran and ran, he was getting closer and closer. And then she started feeling kind of shivery again. And as he reached her, he was about to tag her, and she turned around, and before she even thought about it, she shoved him away from her. And he fell down kind of hard. And she did too. And you know what happened after that? They both burst into tears. That was a pretty surprising and upsetting thing that happened, wasn't it? One of their teachers, Mr. B, came over and said, oh, hey, what's going on? I see that there are a lot of feelings happening here. What's happening? And Deja said, well, I'm feeling really shivery, and I'm feeling kind of cry-y. Has anybody ever felt kind of cry-y? Yeah. And he said, yeah. So I noticed that you seemed like you were enjoying playing tag, but your face looks kind of scared. And Deja said, I'm not scared of playing tag. And he said, yeah, I know you're not. But you seem to have a reaction there, huh? She was a little bit worried that he was going to be upset with her. But he talked with her some more, and then he said, it's time to come inside, and we're going to have our circle time. Has anybody ever had a circle time? And they said, today, instead of sharing a story, I want to invite everybody to look around our classroom and find something that you really like that you can bring and show us. And Deja found in their science corner a really smooth pebble, a stone, that felt really good in her hand. And so she brought it to the circle time, and everybody got to share what they had found. And when she was asked to share what she had found, she showed the pebble. And our teacher said, "Oh, well, what do you feel like when you're holding that pebble?" Anybody here think of what do you feel like inside when something feels good? Any thoughts? Yeah. Warm, yeah. Maybe warm? Any? Calm? Yeah. Her teacher said, "Deja, you look to me like you're calm and relaxed right now. What does your body feel like when you hold that pebble?" And you know what Deja did? She did. And they continued to talk about that. Everybody shared their things, and they talked about some more different kinds of feelings. And somebody said, "I'm feeling kind of worried because I couldn't find something I wanted to bring." Does anybody here ever feel a little bit worried? And they talked about what they feel like inside when they're worried. And that kid said, "When I'm worried, I feel like this. Oh." And somebody else said, "Oh, when I'm really worried, my face scrunches up and gets really tight. Can you make your face really tight? Oh." Yeah. And they continue to talk about what their bodies do. And their teacher said, your body talks to you all the time, but it doesn't really talk in a voice you might be able to understand. So we have to listen to it and pay attention to it. And the teacher talked about something really interesting that's going on inside our bodies. And he talked about something called the vagus nerve. And it's the biggest nerve in your entire body. And it goes from your brain down your spine, and it even goes and kind of wraps around some of your organs too. And I might be getting some of this wrong, so those of you who know human anatomy really well, you might be able to correct me on this. But what he said is that your brain is always looking out for things that might be dangerous. Yeah? And sometimes your brain is sending messages. The brain and this nerve are sending messages all the time. They're getting information from your organs, and they're sending messages. And if your brain thinks there might be something that's kind of dangerous, it's going to alert your body maybe even before you realize it all. So Deja, when she was feeling kind of shivery, or sometimes maybe like the hairs on your arm might stand up. Has anybody ever felt that? Or your stomach might get kind of tight. Those are things where your body is talking to you. And so that's a really important thing, because sometimes we don't really pay attention to our bodies. I think that we who are grown-ups and we who are kids might find that sometimes we kind of feel things going on in our bodies and we don't always pay attention. We might say yes to things that feel kind of uncomfortable. And so a really important thing is to practice paying attention to what our bodies are telling us. And that is the first step, one of the things that we talk with people about when we talk about how we know how to be in control of our own bodies and how to speak up when something feels uncomfortable, and recognize when we're in a situation where maybe we don't want to do something we're being asked to do, or we might want to ask somebody we trust to help us. And so that is our story this morning, and I invite us this week to think about what are the things, if you notice during your week, if you are feeling really good about something, or if you're feeling kind of sad or upset, or if you're feeling worried, what does your body do to tell you how you're feeling? And I would love to hear if you have thoughts about that when we gather next week. You can tell me. Yeah, do you have something right now? Oh yeah, you might feel kind of tight. Yeah, so that's your body talking to you. So thank you all so much for sharing this time this morning. And now those who are heading to our RE spaces, our learners and leaders, are going to head out as we do the recessional song. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Mark Mohundro. I'm here today, co-chair of the TVUUC's Reproductive Justice Task Force, and a little bit later on you'll hear from the other co-chair, Carol Villaverde. Today is the 50th anniversary of the Roe versus Wade decision. Instead of a celebration, it is a reminder of something that isn't here anymore. On June 24th, 2022, a partisan Supreme Court ruled in Dobbs versus Jackson's Women's Health Organization, and that ruling overturned Roe, ending the federal constitutional right to an abortion. From the start, Roe was flawed. It did say people had the right to abortion, but it never protected people's access to abortion. Lots of states passed laws that chipped away at Roe, made getting an abortion nearly impossible, and in 1976, the Hyde Amendment, a national policy widely viewed as racist, became law. Roe was chipped away at, and the constitutional right to an abortion was never enshrined by federal law. This is not to minimize in any way the grief and loss that was felt on June 24th and is still felt by a lot of us here today. During the first 100 days since the U.S. Supreme Court overturned Roe, the Guttmacher Institute research found that 66 clinics across 15 states have been forced to stop offering abortions. Prior to June 24th, these 15 states had a total of 79 clinics that provided abortion care. As of October 2nd, that number dropped to 13, and all of them are located in Georgia. This means that there are no providers currently offering abortions in 14 of the 15 states. The 14 states where abortion is currently unavailable accounted for 125,780 abortions in 2020. Individuals who can no longer obtain an abortion from a clinic in these states are now forced to travel to another state for abortion care, facing additional direct and indirect costs associated with travel logistics, childcare, and time off work. Altogether, these 15 states are home to 22 million women of reproductive age and people of reproductive age, in addition to other people who may not identify as women but are capable of becoming pregnant and may need an abortion. That means that almost 2/3 of the total U.S. population of reproductive age are living in states where abortion is either unavailable or severely restricted. When Roe was in place, many people in the United States found that for them, the right to abortion was a right in name only. Systemic racism, ongoing white supremacy, and coercive reproductive health policies undercut access to abortion in many communities even before Roe was overturned. Before 2022, you could actually get an abortion, depended on whether you could get an abortion depended on your race, where you lived, and your access to money and health insurance. For communities where centuries-old barriers have stood in the way of access to health care, Black, Latino, and Indigenous communities, rural communities, young people, and people with low incomes, LGBTQ+, abortion was challenging to access. With Roe overturned, for many of these communities, abortion has been pushed even farther out of reach. Anti-abortion groups helped write and pass laws that kicked in to ban abortion when Roe v. Wade was overturned. These groups see Tennessee's ban as the country's strongest, and they want to keep it that way. On October 27th, the Tennessee affiliate of National Right to Life held a webinar to encourage GOP legislators to hold the line. During the hour-long meeting, representatives of Tennessee Right to Life and Susan B. Anthony, Pro-Life America, urged the legislators to stay the course and protect the nation's strongest abortion ban as it stands. And with the current makeup of our General Assembly, that is what's going to happen. They said they see Tennessee's ban as the best example of a law that protects every potential life, even when it means pregnant patients must face serious risks or trauma in the process. The discussion also captured anti-abortion groups coaching legislators on messages aimed at swaying the wider public to support their stance.
It was suggested negativity toward the law would fade and raise the possibility of regulating contraception and in vitro fertilization in a few years' time. And they have proven that this is what they mean and this is what they will go after. Roe is gone. The courts will not save us anymore. Most of our current politicians do not care and will not rescue us. Roe being overturned was traumatic, and trauma can leave us helpless and hopeless. But don't go there. Grieve, scream, cry, take a break when you need to, but do not give up. You are needed. We need to build coalitions. We need to lift each other up. You are needed. We need to be open to finding new ways of organizing and activism and build something better. And I'll be honest, this may take years, if not decades. But this is where we are, and do not give up hope. And even though things look pretty grim, I still hope. To quote Howard Zinn, to be hopeful in bad times is not just foolishly romantic. It is based on the fact that human history is a history not only of cruelty, but also of compassion, sacrifice, courage, kindness. What we choose to emphasize in this complex history will determine our lives. If we see only the worst, it destroys our capacity to do something. If we remember those times and places, and there are so many, where people have behaved magnificently, this gives us the energy to act, and at least the possibility of sending this spinning top of a world in a different direction. And if we do act in however small a way, we don't have to wait for some grand utopian future. The future is an infinite succession of presents, and to live now as we think human beings should live, in defiance of all that is bad around us, is itself a marvelous victory.
Good morning and welcome to everyone here in the sanctuary this morning and to everyone watching the live stream. Welcome. My name is John Montgomery. I am a member of the spiritual care team, and I will be sharing our joys and concerns this morning. Today we are mindful of everyone whose lives have been disrupted by extreme weather, the floods in California, the tornadoes in Selma, and throughout the Southeast. Today we are mindful of everyone whose lives have been disrupted by extreme human behavior, cyberbullying, harassment, assault, and violence. Today we are especially mindful of those joys and concerns close to home. Margaret Neat, who will be getting a bionic shoulder on the 27th, which I think is Friday. Yeah. Okay, well, you'll be bionic a little earlier than planned. And Jim Hartzell, whose 94-year-old father, Gilbert Hartzell, is gravely ill. At the same time, we share Jim's joys that his 7-year-old granddaughter, McKinley, is bravely facing her 5th and final round of chemotherapy this coming week, a milestone in a treatment that is progressing as it should. And to Dan Bing, his wife Pat tells us that Dan's cancer is still in remission. Although Dan remains too immunocompromised to be able to come and join us here, he appreciates the cards and letters. And to the family and friends of Leroy Ouvrard, who passed away on January 14th. Leroy attended the laughter group on Fridays. He will be remembered for his provocative views, his gracious hospitality, his fierce independence, and his unselfish service for many good causes, including traveling to Greece to help during the worst days of the refugee crisis during the war in Syria. He was a Vietnam-era veteran, Navy veteran if I'm not mistaken, who, like President Eisenhower, warned us against the dangers of the military-industrial complex. Also, our love and light goes out to our former administrative director, Jenny Arthur, who shared with us that her stepfather, Terry Maddox, passed away recently. We send healing energy to Jenny and her mom. We're sending love and light to the people of Monterey Park, California, following a mass shooting in their town that has left 10 dead and at least 10 wounded. This occurred during if I'm not mistaken, it was during a Lunar New Year celebration. And many, if not all, of the victims were of Asian descent. Chris Jenkins, the son of our Eunice, recently underwent surgery for a medical issue. Unfortunately, the surgery did not result in the desired outcome, so we send him healing energy. And an anonymous cancer patient has shared with us that they are in remission. So let's hear it for remission. I am one of those people who's happy to say my cancer's in remission, so that's a good thing. With these joys and concerns on our mind, those spoken and those that remain unspoken, let us send our love and light out into the world.
Let us pray. Holy One, bless us with that love which overcomes all differences, which heals all wounds, which puts to flight all fears, which reconciles all who are separated. May this love be in us and among us, now and always. Amen.
As you use, we believe that every body is sacred. So this morning, I'm going to lead you in a body blessing ritual written by Reverend Lisa Bovey Kemper. This is a time to honor your body and celebrate all that it is. Focus your attention on your forehead. You may touch hands to your own forehead if it feels natural. May you be blessed with wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. May your intellect take you far on your journey. You have been blessed with reason and free will. It is your call every day to use these gifts. Now focus your attention on your throat. You may touch hands to your throat if it feels natural. May you be blessed with voice. May you learn the complex nature of truth-telling. The ability to speak the truth in love is something that requires honesty, empathy, and care. You are challenged every day to seek the joy that comes with sharing your truth compassionately, as well as listening to others. Focus your attention on your heart. You may touch hands to your own heart if it feels natural. May your heart be full and blessed with love. May you know the agony of heartbreak as it is intertwined with the elation of true love. Your heart is a strong and resilient organ, one that will be with you until the end of your time on earth. May you heed the wisdom of your heart and always trust the truth it tells. Focus your attention on your abdomen. You may touch hands to your abdomen if it feels natural. You are blessed with the gift of sexuality. You are also blessed and whole, even if your experience is asexual. May you always remember that you are a beloved child of God. Your body is sacred and belongs to you alone. May you live into the full expression of your identity as a human being, embracing your true sexual and gender identity. The gift of sexuality brings with it many rewards as well as great responsibility. May you always retain power over your own being, striving toward mutually fulfilling and just relationship. Focus your attention on your hands. You may touch hands together if it feels natural. When you were a baby, your tiny hands were the first contact with the world. Before you could see more than a few feet in front of your face, you grasped the finger of your loved ones. You catch yourself with your hands when you fall, and you express love and comfort to others with them too. May your hands be gentle and strong. May you use them to carry light into the darkness and rest to the weary. May your hands always find the place of greatest need, beginning with your own. And may the Creator of all things hold you in the palm of her hand wherever you go. Focus your attention on your whole body. Wrap arms around your whole body if it feels natural. May you be blessed on your journey. May you remember that growth happens on the journey and that you are never alone. May you always remember that you are a whole person, that each of these parts work together. We offer our blessings upon you, body, mind, and spirit. May you be guided by compassion and truth, justice, and love. May you find rest on the journey, always remembering where you came from, being mindful that your ancestors stand behind you, whether we are present on earth or have gone back to the soul of the world. May you be blessed in all things and carry blessings with you wherever you go.
Good morning. Thank you for joining us today, whether you're joining in person or online. My name is Claudia Presley. I'm the Director of Finance and Operations. This part of our service is where we do our Share the Plate offering. What Share the Plate means is that 100% of your contribution today that is not marked as a pledge will go to our Share the Plate organization, which you're going to be hearing a little bit about in just a few minutes. Right now, let me say the ways you can give are to text GIVE to the number 73256, type in TVUUC and the amount you would like to give. If you're here in the sanctuary, you can of course put checks or cash in the offering baskets that will be passed around. You can also use the giving kiosk out in our lobby to give, or if you're watching online, you can click the give button that should be on your screen or go to your own Realm account. So today, let me introduce Max. She is with Mountain Access Brigade, and she's going to be able to give you a little more information about what they do and how they'll be able to use your funds. Thank you.
My name is Max Carwile, and I helped found Mountain Access Brigade because I knew that here in East Tennessee, people needed to know their options. They needed to have a path for support and for care and for cutting through the chaos. When we first started Mountain Access Brigade several years ago, it was called the Knoxville Abortion Doula Collective, and we wanted to provide support because we knew that back then, we had legal abortion here in Tennessee, and even then, we knew it was not enough, that people needed support and care and affirmation. So what Mountain Access Brigade does is we operate a phone number where people can text or call us to talk about abortion. They can talk through their options if they're unsure and receive information, support, resources for any possible pregnancy outcome that they may want. If they do need an abortion, we can talk them through their options in order to receive one now that abortion is completely illegal in the state of Tennessee in all circumstances. This means that if people want a legal way to end their pregnancy, they have to leave the state of Tennessee. And Mountain Access Brigade, we help people with this. We are still here. We are not going anywhere. We did have to change our guidance when Tennessee's trigger law went into effect, but it did not lessen our capacity or our commitment. So we help people understand their options for leaving the state of Tennessee to end their pregnancy, and we financially support them. We have no paid staff. Your donations directly go towards East Tennesseans trying to end their pregnancy, be it the actual abortion costs, which can be anywhere from a few hundred to a few thousand, from the travel of flying or driving to get where they need to go, the lodging, since they frequently have to stay overnight or even several nights if there are waiting periods in the state they're traveling to, child care costs, because we know that 59% of all people who end their pregnancy have already given birth at least once. This is what your donation goes to, helping people get the care that they need, because we know that now that abortion is illegal here in the state of Tennessee, these costs have only drastically increased, along with having to take off work and feeling afraid and terrified with how much stigma and uncertainty there is here. We also help people figure out where they need to go, even if they don't need the financial support. We know that even though there is not abortion in Tennessee, there are still dozens upon dozens of crisis pregnancy centers that exist just to lie and scam pregnant people. So we help people cut through that chaos as well. I will talk more about this later, but in the meantime, I want to thank you all so much for having me here today. Thank you.
The offertory selection today is entitled Kids Only Matter When They're Not Born Yet. And it is a song that went viral in social media over the last year or so. And it was amidst all of the frustration with the beliefs or values that people have that state that they value life, but turn around and implement policies that do everything but ensure the safety and sustainability of families, traditional and non-traditional. And so I wanted to just kind of give you a preface. This is a very wordy text.
So a lot of package in a small amount of time. So I wanted to preface it a little bit so that if you missed a word or two, you understood the overall concept of the piece.
Some folks believe that life begins when babies sperm. Want to force all pregnant people to carry to term. But their actions point to something that you wouldn't expect. That they think kids only matter when they're not born yet. They'll make sure family leave and childcare funding fails. Take away the parents at the border and jail. Kids beg for climate action under crippling debt. While you say they only matter when they're not born yet. If abortion was the issue, contraception would reduce it. Oh, but wouldn't you know that certain people made it difficult for everyone to use it? Oh, publicly shame them if they can't afford lunch. Refuse to keep schools safe from COVID or guns. For once, I wish their actions would disprove what I said. That they think kids only matter when they're not born yet. If abortion was the issue, contraception would reduce it. Oh, but wouldn't you know that certain people made it difficult for everyone to use it? Oh, publicly shame them if they can't afford lunch. Refuse to keep schools safe from COVID or guns. For once, I wish their actions would disprove what I've said. That they think kids only matter when they're not born yet.
Hello, everyone. I feel really sad today, and I'm not going to stay there because I know hope is what makes me do the work that needs to be done. So this is We Hold Hope Close by Teresa Soto. In this community, we hold hope close. We don't always know what comes next, but that cannot dissuade us. We don't always know just what to do, but that does not mean that we are lost in the wilderness. We rely on the certainty beneath the foundation of our values and ethics. We are the people who return to love like a North Star and to the truth that we are greater together than alone. Our hope does not live in some glimmer of an indistinct future. Rather, we know the way to the world of which we dream, and by covenant and movement forward of one right action and then the next, we know that one day we will arrive home.
Let us join together in our hymn, We Will Not, We Will Not, We Will Not Be Controlled.
We will not, we will not, we will not be controlled. I am sovereign in my body, I am sovereign in my soul. We will not, we will not, we will not be controlled. I am sovereign in my body, I am sovereign in my soul. We will not, we will not, we will not be controlled. I am sovereign in my body, I am sovereign in my soul. We will not, we will not, we will not be controlled. I am sovereign in my body, I am sovereign in my soul.
We will not be controlled. I am sovereign in my body, I am sovereign in my soul. We will not be controlled. I am sovereign sovereign in my soul.
Hey!
We will not be controlled. I am sovereign in my body. I am sovereign in my soul. We will not be controlled. I am sovereign in my body. I am sovereign in my soul. We will not be controlled. I am sovereign in my body. I am sovereign in my soul. We will not be controlled. I am sovereign in my body. I am sovereign in my soul.
I guess you could say I'm getting a workout this morning, walking back and forth. I am so grateful to be here today and to have the opportunity to share information and part of the journey for reproductive rights and reproductive justice. And one of the best ways that I can do that is by sharing my own story. Sharing my story, and also sharing it from the understanding that I have lived an incredible life of privilege. And through that lens, I'm able now to see the things that I can now use my privilege for to help others who do not have that, so that we all can have rights and all be free. In 2008, my husband Patrick and I decided we were ready to start a family. We were ready. So we decided we would go off of all contraceptive methods. We'd just see what would happen. Within 3 months, we were pregnant. Absolutely elated. Pregnant within 3 months. During my pregnancy, the only hints that there might be any kind of concerns was that I had a low iron count, and they put me on some iron pills or said, you need to eat lots of spinach and good red meat. And then I had a little bit of an issue with increased heart rate every now and then. But I was assured that that's pretty typical during pregnancy, to sometimes have an increased heart rate. So we continued on. Everything going as well as possible. And then at 37 weeks, my OB said that I was dilating and effacing, which means my body was getting ready to deliver a baby. We thought I was gonna have a delivery within the week. But then all of a sudden, my body stopped preparing for delivery, almost like it knew something wasn't right. And I started getting tired, really, really tired. I couldn't walk across the room without feeling winded and having to sit down. And what was worse was I couldn't feel Owen moving anymore, and that really scared me. So I went to my mom's house with my husband, and we decided together that we would take a trip to the emergency room. She said, they'll put you on the monitors, you'll see that you're fine and the baby's okay and everything's fine, and you'll be able to sleep and get ready for delivery later this next week. We got to the ER, and they put me on the monitors, and things weren't okay. My heart rate at rest was 210 beats a minute, at rest, laying flat. My ejection fraction, which is the percent of blood that gets pumped through your heart each time it pumps to the rest of the body, so how much of your blood is being oxygenated and distributed to the rest of your body for bodily functions. The normal ejection fraction is between 50 and 70%. Mine was at 20%, and I was told that if it were any lower, 1 percentage point, they would have classified me in congestive heart failure. The ER doctor looked at me and he said, you have something called peripartum cardiomyopathy. It's what's called a pregnancy-induced heart disease. And if I had waited any longer to go to the doctor's office or to the ER than I did that day, neither me nor my son would be here today. And now I get to share you how traumatic that experience was. Like I said, I lived it through privilege. First off, my mom was a professor of nursing at Tennessee Wesleyan. She had spent a life being a nurse and was ending her career teaching other people how to be nurses. Tennessee Wesleyan does all of their nursing student rounds at Park West Hospital. This is the emergency room I went to. My mom knew everybody in the ER. She knew nurses and doctors on every floor of that hospital. The ER doctor, the OB on duty, said, "Your son is fine, but we need to get him here." And he looked at my mom, he looked at me, and he said, "Do you have a preference for the cardiologist that takes care of you?" And my mom said immediately, "Dr. Blackie." He had an impeccable, what I guess people in the medical facility, the medical profession call incredible bedside manner. This was a man who wanted desperately to make sure I was okay and that my son was okay. He was kind, he was gentle, and he did everything he could to put me on cardiology meds so that I could breastfeed my child. He planned out meds, he planned out scheduling with me, and with incredible privilege, I was able to be on meds to recover, but I was also able to feed my child. So incredible privilege there. Another element of privilege, I was fully insured, which means I received prenatal and postpartum care without any issues or concerns. There are many women in this state who don't have that, or people, in this state who do not have that privilege. It wasn't until January 1st of this year that 10 care enrollees who had Medicaid during their pregnancy are now eligible to receive 12 months of follow-up care after they deliver. That hasn't happened until January 1st of this year. That means that our working poor in the state are not assured the right to standard, adequate health care. Tennessee is one of 11 states that has not expanded Medicaid. The Affordable Care Act of 2010 was supposed to help with that, but SCOTUS ruled in 2012 that expansion of Medicaid be left to the states. Tennessee is the first in the nation for hospital closures per capita, 10th in the nation for medical debt, and 22 counties have no hospitals. This means ambulances are now emergency rooms, and delay of care means loss of life. My husband also had another benefit that shows me how privileged we were. He had not only maternity leave guaranteed, but UT had paternity leave guaranteed. He had 4 weeks with pay that when I was released from the hospital, he was able to come home and care for me for 4 weeks straight. And we didn't have to worry about paying a mortgage or putting food on the table because he continued to receive health benefits and he continued to receive his salary pay. Another element of privilege, I was lucky enough that we didn't have a bank holding our mortgage. At this time, my mom was actually selling us the house that she had lived in. She held the note to the house. And she was the one who said, Pay what you can, when you can. We didn't lose shelter and didn't run the risk of losing a house. I also had the choice of contraception afterwards, a choice that I wouldn't have today, just 14 years later. I was told when I delivered Owen, after I delivered Owen, that I had basically two options. They could go in and give me a complete hysterectomy and remove all of my reproductive organs, or I could have what is called an IUD inserted, an intrauterine device. Those of you who don't know, IUDs prevent an egg from implanting in the uterus and for a pregnancy to be able to develop. According to the state law in Tennessee right now, abortion is illegal from fertilization on, which means there are many OBs in the state who will now no longer insert IUDs, which have a higher efficacy rate for preventing pregnancy than most other methods. If I were to get pregnant now, I was assured it was not a good idea, and we did not try. But I was also told you would most likely have permanent heart damage and could die. In the state of Tennessee right now, I'm not guaranteed if for some reason we had an unintended pregnancy that I could get abortion care. At this point, I would probably have to wait until my heart rate was at 210 beats a minute and my ejection fraction was 20% before I could be guaranteed. The blessing in a lot of this is my son and I survived. Not everybody has that to report. The 2022 report from the Tennessee General Assembly on maternal mortality said that between 2017 and 2020, 113 women died from pregnancy-related causes. Non-Hispanic Black women were 2.5 times more likely to die than a white woman. And these statistics only report the gender binary. We have no knowledge at this point of how members of the LGBTQ+ population have been affected. In 2020, discrimination contributed to 1 in 3 pregnancy-related deaths. And 89% of them were deemed preventable. The 3 leading causes were cardiovascular and coronary disease, hemorrhages, and mental health conditions. I know I'm leaving you with a lot of heaviness in the last statements, but I also want to leave you with hope. We have the power to make change. The reproductive justice movement aligns with the UU's 8 principles and the belief that all bodies are sacred and every person has the right to determine if, when, and how they want to have children. Owen and my mom will be celebrating a birthday in 2 days. January 24th, 2009 was his birth date. I told my mom the day that we delivered Owen, I said, "I'm so sorry, Mom. With all this, I couldn't get you a birthday gift." And she said, "You gave me the best gift you ever could. You are alive, and I have a grandson." So I leave in hope, and I live in gratitude. And I hope that we all can use our gifts and our talents and our privileges to help others with reproductive justice. Thank you.
I do not know why I bothered putting on makeup today. This should really be a day of celebration. This should be a day, it should be, of us holding each other, being grateful for what we have. This should have been a day of commemorating 50 years of Roe v. Wade. But today we're here. Today I woke up and was aware of everything we have lost and how I have felt this coming for the past few years, slowly and with absolute certainty that this point was coming. I woke up today thinking about how it was 2 years ago today that I woke up to find out my workplace had our doors shot out with a shotgun. This is a very complicated day. At the very least, I'm glad to be here with you all today, because this, us being here together, being in community, is the only path forward. Seema and Carol have both mentioned hope today, and I think frequently about the words of Mariam Kaba, which is that hope is a discipline. Hope is not being naive or optimistic or thinking that things can get better just because they have to. Hope is a discipline, something we must work at every single day. The future we want must be built, and it must be built together. Many of you have heard me speak before and know that I got into this work because of storytelling. I have been incredibly blessed to hear so many Tennessean stories over the past several years about why they care about abortion access, how they got to this point, and every way that our culture, our laws, has made people feel small or ashamed. I worked on a project called the Tennessee Stories Project that was all about people sharing their abortion stories. And one of the most common things I heard people say was that they felt bad that they didn't feel bad. Like there is something inherently evil and shameworthy and disgraceful about making the best decision for yourself, for your life, for your family. And I think that's why we have to keep working, we have to keep pushing for access and for culture change. We will never get the full legality and access we want without culture change. It means being in spaces like this, talking with each other, talking with everyone you know in your life. Things are different than they were prior to Roe v. Wade passing. We have the internet, which is both a blessing and a burden, especially when it comes to abortion access. No matter the legality of any state in this country, anyone can go to plancpills.org and order medication abortion pills to their home and end their pregnancy in a medically safe way. This is important for everyone to know. Only 1 in 4 Americans are even aware it is possible to end a pregnancy with pills, and many people confuse it with the morning after pill or Plan B. This is the work that Mountain Access Brigade does in addition to helping patients get where they need to go for their abortion, talking to them about their options, their medical options, their legal options, helping people stay safe. Because now, in this new era, the dangers to our safety are not coat hangers or bleach. We have many options to stay medically safe when ending our pregnancies. The dangers are legal. The dangers are medical professionals who don't know that they actually do not have to report to the police if they suspect a patient has ended their pregnancy. That is actually a violation of HIPAA, and they should not do that. The dangers are people not knowing that it's not safe for them to post online or tell their friends about ending their pregnancy nowadays. We are facing a terrifying wave of criminalization of people being prosecuted for their pregnancy outcomes, of every miscarriage being questioned and suspect, with all of that being compounded and immensely worse for people of color, for poor people. This is why we must always push forward. Remember, it is possible to take care of each other, and that taking care of each other is the only way forward. Mountain Access Brigade works to help people understand these barriers to care, the legality, how to stay safe. Even if somebody doesn't need financial assistance, we can walk them through how to stay legally safe, how to digitally stay safe when accessing abortion options or even pregnancy care. Because now people have to worry about things like If I haven't yet decided what to do about my pregnancy, or if I have a high-risk pregnancy, is it safe for people to know I have a pregnancy? What if I have a miscarriage? What will happen to me? This is our new world. The Tennessee State Legislature has started back up this month as well. And I'm sorry, I'm not going to make this any lighter, but things can and very likely could get worse. We could see aiding and abetting, bounty hunter style bills become into laws like in Texas. We could see even further scrutiny of miscarriages and pregnancy outcomes in emergency rooms. We must stay vigilant. This is why we cannot lose hope, lose sight of that. Every person you know who could become pregnant is relying on you to care for them and to fight for them. So keep fighting, pay attention to your legislature, pay attention to making sure every possible person in your life knows you are a safe person to turn to, that they can go to you for that support, for that care, for their legal safety and for their emotional safety, so they can know you care for them, you're there, they have options. Thank you so much.
I've been charged by our Reproductive Justice Task Force to offer a call to action. And I want to begin by pointing out an often overlooked dimension in the history of theology. Have you ever noticed that many denominations have a very carefully thought out theology about when there might be such a thing as a just war, but they have given very, very, very little thought to under what circumstances there might be a such thing as a just abortion. This is how we know men write theology. To paraphrase the suffragist Susan B. Anthony, in too many churches the theology is made by men, interpreted by men, administered by men, in favor of men, and against women. Churches that are not biblical literalists about any form of male bad behavior suddenly become biblical literalists about women's choices. All too often we hear these words from the Bible out of context: let your women keep silence in our churches, for it is a shame for women to speak in the church. Which is to say, all too often, theology is made by men, interpreted by men, administered by men, in favor of men and against women, without even listening to women. There are some churches where women can't even be ushers. That's how powerful the patriarchy can be. So when I'm asked what Unitarian Universalist Church can do in the aftermath of Roe v. Wade, my first call to action is listen to women. Not only on this issue, but on all issues. When Molly Rochelson was a teenager growing up in this church and someone asked her, what do you want to do when you grow up? She said, bust up the patriarchy. Let's help our young people do that. Friday, I attended as chaplain to the Unitarian Universalist Association Board of Trustees a meeting, that's our national denomination board, where we heard from the Article 2 Commission that has been reflecting on the theology and our values of our faith. And that committee in its current form is made up of one man and 4 women, and all are committed to thinking beyond the binary. This is not an overcorrection when we consider the history of theology in the Western world. In fact, the leadership of our churches, if we had a similar ratio, we would have improved theology. And if we had a similar ratio on the Supreme Court of the United States, we would have better laws. I will always remember the day that the Reverend Jametta Alston walked into my office and said, "Chris, we need condoms in the bathroom." And this was not the first thought I'd ever had. The idea had never occurred to me. But her argument was that the church must do its part to prevent unwanted pregnancies and to stop the spread of sexually transmitted diseases, some of which can be quite deadly. The church needs to stop treating human sexuality as a taboo topic where women and men and everyone of every gender identity or sexual orientation is told to keep silent in our churches. We must lead. There is an old activist slogan, "I'd rather be a guardrail at the top of the hill than an ambulance at the bottom." And so my second call to action is that we take seriously our guardrail responsibilities. Our church offers comprehensive sexuality education through the Our Whole Lives program. Our young people are enriched by being given a vocabulary and knowledge and wisdom about how to reflect on issues of sexuality. And we have a long history of cooperating with Planned Parenthood, educating the young to be peer educators, to talk with each other, to learn from each other. And in this way, we are not silent in our churches. This week, I took it upon myself to personally replenish the condoms in our bathrooms. And I told Mark Mahundro I felt a little bit like the Easter Bunny. But if you think about it, the Easter Bunny appears in lots of churches, and Easter Bunny is a pagan fertility symbol. And the Easter eggs are pagan fertility symbols. So condoms in our bathroom are a way of saying that we recognize our fertility and we are prepared to exercise our fertility responsibly. So, new spin on the Easter Bunny, friends. We need to take our guardrail responsibilities seriously, and that's why we're going to support the Planned Parenthood Mobile Clinic. Indeed, we entertained hosting them on our site. It turns out we're not zoned appropriately, but we are that committed to the continuing work of Planned Parenthood. We support Mountain Access Brigade with our money and with our energy and with our referrals and with our pastoral care. We are going to support anyone facing government interference in making personal and private choices. We will not be controlled. We are sovereign in our bodies. We are sovereign in our souls. My third call would be to recommend that we move beyond the language of pro-choice and pro-life and embrace the language of reproductive justice, because those who are poor feel like they have no choice. Those who cannot afford rent or groceries feel like they have no choice. Those who live in violent neighborhoods where children are collateral damage in drive-by shootings, those entering young adulthood, the prime years for starting a family, saddled with student loans or credit card debt, do not feel like they have a choice. So we must strengthen the work of the whole church that we do for economic justice and strengthen the safety net to ensure that young people and all people will always feel like they have a choice. And you are invited to come to a conversation about reproductive justice in the Lizzie Crozier French room, aptly named after the Unitarian suffragist who led the campaign for women having the right to vote. So come to the conversation after church. I joined this church as a young adult, and one of my first volunteer responsibilities I took on was being trained to escort women 2 clinics when they were being harassed by Operation Rescue. In the year 2023, we are also committed to stand with women against all forms of harassment in the midst of our challenges in this time. What forms that work will take, we will talk about after church. What forms it will take, we will talk about in our board meetings. What forms that will take, we will decide together. But we are committed to this work in the future just as we have always been in the past, because it's who we are and it's what we do. And so in conclusion, I will ask that question again. Have you ever noticed that many churches have a carefully thought out theology about when there might be such a thing as a just war, but have given so very little thought to when there might be such a thing as a just abortion? In many churches, theology is made by men, interpreted by men, administered by men, in favor of men, against women, without even listening. And the same is true of many of the laws of this land. So let's bust up the patriarchy with our listening ears. Let's bust up the patriarchy with our loving hearts. Let's bust up the patriarchy with the fire of our commitment. Let's bust up the patriarchy by not remaining silent in our churches. I invite you to join together in our closing hymn in the teal hymnal, The Fire of Commitment, 1028. Your liberating ministry. Go forward in the power of love, proclaim the truth that makes us free. Of worship, I invite you to turn and greet your neighbor.
She's like, yeah, you're exactly right. We only got the last 2 minutes of your intro. Sorry, you're running late. That's right.
I think that's my mistake. I'm pretty sure it's my mistake.